There is a one-word solution to maintaining creative momentum: redrawing. I don't know why it feels so illegal, but ever since I started incorporating redrawing into my art making practice, I've been drawing every day for the first time in a long time. Redrawing helps you not only come up with ideas, but also improve your skills. So first, let's talk about coming up with ideas. How can redrawing things help you come up with new ideas? Aren't you just drawing the same thing over and over? By trying to draw something new every single day, you are not allowing your brain the ability to branch off. You're closing your brain off from going deeper into an idea and from getting better at executing what you're imagining. The more that I draw the same subject or idea, the more its image evolves. The more the foggy image I have in my head of an idea I want to execute clears up and develops a life of its own. The idea for a book character in your head will develop a bigger personality or a backstory. The painting you keep thinking about will get a background or a color palette. And also, it's pretty much impossible to just create the same thing twice, even if you were to try your hardest. In the words of Keith Haring in his journals, "Because I am different at different times, I believe I have never lived 2 days that were the same in any way. Similar maybe, but not the same. I think, feel, act, conceive, and live differently every day, every instant. And if I am different at different times, my imagery also changes. I paint differently every day, every hour, every minute, every instant. My paintings are a record of a given space of time. They are recorded patterns of thought. Duplication is impossible without a camera. Repetition without a camera or machine is not repetition." Let's move on to art skills. I often don't draw things because I feel like I don't have the skills to execute it yet. But the only way to waste idea is to never execute it. It's not to do it poorly. Because if you have an idea and paint it poorly, at least it's recorded. You can go back to it. But if you wait until you're good enough, which by the way, you'll probably never be good enough in your own head, you'll forget about this idea within a few months or just be overwhelmed by so many ideas you've been building up but not creating that it just shuts you down completely. By recording an idea, you give yourself another jumping off point. As your library of images expands and branches off and can be built upon, giving you a universe of drawings to play around with. Also, by not letting yourself draw the same thing every day, you're making the simple act of putting pencil to paper so much harder than it needs to be. Because now you have to have a brand new concept before you're even allowed to create. But if you're struggling with creative momentum or art block, you want less roadblocks, not more. Make creating easier for yourself. Because if it's between redrawing things or not drawing at all, pick the first option. This way, even if you're art blocked and you have no new ideas, by getting yourself to just put pen to paper, even if it is redrawing, you're preparing yourself for being ready to execute your new ideas as they come. By keeping your artistic momentum, you can keep your skills trailing steadily behind your ideas. Because I think skills always lag behind your ideas. Let's put this on a simple line. Your ideas are blue, and your skills are green. Every time you consume anything, your brain is coming up with ideas. And while it may not seem like this because with social media and the pace at which you consume things, it can just overwhelm you to the point where you feel like you have no ideas at all. But if you're someone who makes art, it's honestly impossible to look at the world and not try to interpret it through your artistic voice. If you're a human being at all, it's impossible to look at the world and not have thoughts. As your ideas evolve quickly in the fast-paced world that you're constantly consuming, your skills just can't keep up. Now for your skills, it's a lot simpler. For the most part, the more you create, the more your skills evolve. Of course, there's other elements like pushing yourself out of your comfort zone by taking a class or entering a competition or making a product, but in general, the more you make, the better you get. Generally, your skills will be lagging somewhere behind your ideas. Once in a while, I think, a miracle can strike and you create something and your skills match your ideas, but for the most part, they follow steadily behind. But be aware of the distance at which they're lagging, because it will keep increasing as soon as you stop making art. Because your ideas will keep moving forward, whether or not your skills improve at all. So now, I'm actually just kind of going to transition this conversation into the art I'm making in this video, and also just my art journey right now. I went the past few years pretty much not using my sketchbook. I'd pick it up here and there, but for the most part, I was really not creating very much. But then I realized that despite not making what I considered to be art, I'd actually been making a whole lot over the past few years. I've been filling pretty much every low-pressure surface with drawings. The margins of my school notebooks, the backs of my quizzes I finished early, the blank pages of my planner I didn't write in. They weren't incredible drawings or anything, but after years of doodling I realized if I had done these doodles in my sketchbook, I'd count it as making art. I'd count it as drawing. And why had it been so easy to draw outside my sketchbook in these informal ways? Because I made it easy for myself. I redrew the same things in every class until I found something new to draw. I spent weeks just like creating plaid patterns with highlighters on the side of my notes, and then also just like drawing these like same repeating patterns over and over in the margins. So I decided to try and just like apply that same approach to my sketchbook. And since then, I've been making a lot of art. As for like my actual like inspirations or where my ideas come from, like I always have ideas, but sometimes like when you haven't drawn in a long time, it really does just feel so overwhelming because you've been coming up with ideas for years that you haven't been executing. So I tried to like step away from all the growing lists of ideas I had of things I wanted to make. And I've been finding myself like in libraries and in bookstores, opening up books just to like right there and then come up with some ideas. And I feel like it's just a little less stressful than trying to go through my memory of all the past ideas I want to create. The bird's so loud. So I went to a bookstore and I saw this book which had some like really cool statues and figures and art in it. And I had brought this little tiny notebook with me in my bag. Again, a very low pressure surface to draw in. So I quickly sketched out some of the statues, especially this one of this bison. I also just filled up a few more pages in my little notebook with just like characters inspired from the art, from the people in the book, from the statues, and from like even the weapons. And when I went home, I redrew these figures together just to get the idea of like what it could look like if they're all existing in the same universe. I even drew that same like spear shape as the border to that first drawing. While painting this piece, I started to see the back of the bison like a hill of sorts. And I had the idea of putting like a tree and like making it like a mountain, like a house or a person sitting on it. And then I went through my planner because I remembered I had drawn this tree I really liked. So now like, because I have just been doing all these like carefree doodles, I can pull on them when I want to know how to like make a tree look good or like what I want my images to look like. Like I have a universe of art, even though they were just like redrawn little sketches, to be able to pull from when it comes time to like want to create a little drawing together, right? I'm trying to make the barrier to drawing just a lot lower because I want to just be drawing as much as possible. As I redrew this bison for the second time, I honestly really hated it at first. That's why the footage just kind of like cuts in and out of me drawing on it. But I kept working on it. And as I kept adding more and more to the scene, I actually started loving the world I was creating. Like I really liked covering it up and seeing that it like looked like normal landscape. And then taking my hand away and seeing that there were bisons under. Like I just like the idea of it like almost existing in two worlds, like if there were two separate colors on the top or bottom or something. It's kind of like the idea that we're all just like a small part of something else's world. Like all these bisons are interacting with each other, and then we're like interacting all the bisons, and then like so on and so forth. There's something just cool about that. And in the end, even though like I don't think the drawing was perfect and everything I wanted it to be, I got the idea out and it's there, and I might come back to it. And while I was doing this drawing, I actually just like had this idea in the back of my head about the shape of the spear from the book, like that weapon that like I drew in my little tiny notebook and then I put in that first drawing as the border. So I turned it into a fence on this next little doodle. So on the next page, which is like the third drawing in this video, I kind of rolled with that idea. The spear shape kind of just like inspiring this drawing. But I also was pulling on this figure that I had been doodling for a little while now too. And it was funny because I was flipping through some of my old sketchbooks because I just like posted a sketchbook tour. So I was like looking at some old stuff. And I found I've been drawing this like kind of gloopy looking figure with wings for a while now. Like it's actually crazy if you have this universe of doodles how often you'll find yourself redrawing. And there's nothing wrong with that because the ideas will evolve, like it evolved into this. All of this because I just let myself redraw. And I didn't hold on to ideas until I felt I was ready, because a sketchbook is just a record of your ideas at this time and place and skill level. It doesn't need to be a perfect piece because it will evolve into a better piece or idea if you let it. So I think it's really important to ask, even if you aren't making art right now, why do you want to be making art? What drives you to create? And if forcing yourself to hold off on creating until you have a new idea, or until you have the skills to execute the ideas you already have, is holding you back from creating, why are you giving it that power? When I consider this question for myself, I realize I literally can't stop creating. I love it. I love interpreting ideas through my lens. I love trying to get, you know, things that I see to like develop new meanings and create worlds from like pages in a book in a bookstore, because it not only lets my imagination work, but it also captures a memory of time, because like when I look at these pages, I not only see like all the ideas that developed from those like few little doodles, but I also see the day and the time I spent sitting in this bookstore with my husband. So like the only thing that I'm actually doing by holding myself off from creating is forgetting ideas and forgetting memories. And quite frankly, making worse art is worth it to ensure that I'm remembering life. Thank you so much for people who made it to the end of this video. My dog is like digging next to me. I don't know if I can get this. She like just started digging. Like I'm just standing there. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'm trying to post more videos, so thank you. Have a good one.